Cybersecurity Today would like to thank Material Security for sponsoring this podcast. Material Security provides faster, more complete detection and response for email, identity, and data threats inside Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. You can contact them at material.security. GitHub confirms supply chain breach hit 3,800 internal repositories. Microsoft moves to a stronger authentication standard. 9-year-old Linux flaw can hand root access to local attackers. And Proton drops the gloves over Canada's surveillance bill. This is Cybersecurity Today. I'm your host, Jim Love. GitHub has confirmed that approximately 3,800 internal repositories were accessed in a supply chain attack linked to the hacking group TeamPCP. According to GitHub, the breach began when an employee installed a malicious Visual Studio Code extension. The company has not identified the extension and hasn't disclosed what data was present on the compromised device. But GitHub says its current assessment is that the incident involved exfiltration of GitHub internal repositories only, and that TeamPCP's public claim of roughly 4,000 repositories is directionally consistent with its own investigation. The attack path matters because developer workstations increasingly hold some of the most sensitive assets in an organization. Aikido security researcher Charlie Erickson says VS Code extensions can access everything on a developer machine, including credentials, SSH keys, cloud access keys, and other secrets. Aikido's Mackenzie Jackson says TeamPCP has already compromised Trivy, Checkmarx, Bitwarden CLI, and Tanstack this year through similar attacks on developer tooling. This follows another recent example where the exposure of sensitive CISA credentials was reportedly tied to a contractor bypassing established security procedures. Different incident, same underlying issue. Trusted insiders and trusted endpoints with privileged access. One poisoned extension on one developer machine was apparently enough to expose thousands of GitHub repositories. That suggests organizations may need to treat developer workstations not simply as endpoints to protect, but as high-value internal attack surfaces requiring the same scrutiny as production infrastructure. Microsoft says it's phasing out SMS as a method of authentication and account recovery for personal Microsoft accounts because, in its words, SMS-based authentication is now a leading source of fraud. The replacement is not just something newer. It follows the industry move to what NIST calls phishing-resistant authentication, defined as authentication that prevents disclosure of authentication secrets or a valid authenticator outputs to an imposter without relying on users spotting the fraud. In practical terms, this is going to mean some authentication methods, such as passkeys, where there's no 6-digit code for an attacker to steal, relay, or trick a user into surrendering. And this matters because SMS-based multi-factor authentication has well-known weaknesses. SIM swapping can redirect messages, one-time codes can be captured through phishing pages, messages can be intercepted or delayed. SMS was better and probably still is better than passwords alone, but security standards have moved on. Microsoft has not provided a firm end date for the change, and from what we're reading, this applies to personal Microsoft accounts, not enterprise Microsoft Entra environments. But the significance is broader than Microsoft. One of the world's largest technology companies is effectively declaring SMS no longer meets the modern baseline for secure authentication, to which we can only say, hooray. Security researchers have disclosed a Linux privilege escalation flaw that appears to have existed for about 9 years, potentially allowing an unprivileged local user to gain root access on default installations of several major Linux distributions. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2026-46333, and nicknamed SSH-Keysign-Pwn, affects systems including Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, and others that ship with vulnerable default configurations. Researchers say the flaw stems from improper privilege management in the SSH-Keysign component. The vulnerability was reported to carry a CVSS score of 5.5, which puts it in a medium severity range, but that score reflects an important limitation. This is not a remote internet attack. An attacker needs local access to the machine to make it work. But if that access exists, Qualsys says the flaw can allow disclosure of sensitive files and execution of arbitrary commands as root. In data centers, this may be a limited concern, but for laptops, shared systems, university environments, or any machine where physical or local access is possible, a medium-rated flaw can still become a serious operational problem. Our Canadian listeners and American hockey fans will understand the phrase elbows up, but Proton appears to be doing more than that. This looks closer to dropping the gloves. Proton, the company behind Proton VPN and Proton Mail, is publicly opposing Canada's proposed surveillance legislation, which supporters say is needed to help law enforcement investigate serious crimes, including things like child sexual exploitation. But Proton's position is explicit. There is no universe in which Proton would compromise our no logs policy. The implication is equally clear. If compliance means weakening that promise, Proton appears willing to leave the Canadian market. Opponents argue this is the same debate governments keep returning to. You need to create a backdoor for the good guys. Opponents say somebody always finds it. That risk then extends beyond privacy advocates, journalists, dissidents, abuse victims, corporations, and governments themselves all rely on strong encryption. And the warning's not theoretical. This week alone brought the CISA credentials exposure. Canada Revenue Agency in Canada has faced repeated breaches. And in the United States, we can't forget the Salt Typhoon espionage campaign, reportedly exploiting lawful intercept capabilities built into the telecom infrastructure at the request of law enforcement. So the core argument remains simple. Once exceptional access exists, control over who uses it won't last. And it appears that Proton isn't about to back down, even if they get thrown out of the game. That's our show for today. Hopefully you catch us on the weekend, but if not, David will be back in Monday morning with more cybersecurity news. I'm your host, Jim Love. Thanks for listening. Here's a question worth asking. What happens after a phishing email slips past your filters? Most email security tools only guard the front door, but attackers are already inside. Material security is different. It's a unified detection and response platform purpose-built for Google Workspace and Microsoft 365, protecting email, files, and accounts all in one place. We're talking automated phishing remediation, account takeover containment, and sensitive data protection without alert fatigue. Find out why companies like Figma, Reddit, and Lyft trust Material to stop the threats other tools miss. See Workspace security in action at material.security. That's material.security. And if you do contact them, take a second and say, thanks for sponsoring Cybersecurity Today.